In the hustle and chaos of life, we often feel the urge to prove ourselves, to shout louder than the noise, and to push harder than those around us. We believe that victory is found in the act of relentless pursuit, in the pursuit of being heard, of being noticed, of showing the world that we are worthy of attention. But often lies not in action. But often the true power lies not in action, but in restraint. There is a wisdom in stepping back, in remaining silent, and in allowing time to reveal who truly values what you have to offer. True power often lies not in doing more, but in doing less and letting time reveal your worth. This is a principle that often goes unnoticed in our fast-paced world, where the pressure to act, perform, and succeed is ever present. We are constantly encouraged to keep moving, to keep striving, to be in constant pursuit of something. And in this pursuit, we begin to believe that our value is tied to the amount of effort we put forth, the number of actions we take, or the visible results we produce. But the true nature of power is something far deeper and more profound. It's about understanding that there is immense strength in restraint, in knowing when to step back, when to pause, and when to allow the natural course of events to unfold. At the heart of this concept is the idea that overactivity, the constant push to show the world what we are capable of, can often lead to burnout, distraction, and frustration. In our modern culture, we are conditioned to believe that success is measured by how much we do, how fast we move, and how visible our efforts are. We live in a world that praises the loudest voices, the most energetic pursuits, the busiest lives. We are told that, to be successful, we must always be seen, always be heard, always be moving forward. The individual who stays still, who pauses in the middle of the chaos, who refuses to rush, is often misunderstood or ignored. But in truth, it is this very stillness that can unlock the most profound and lasting power. The act of doing less is not about laziness or indifference. It's not about withdrawing from the world in a state of apathy or detachment. Rather, it is an active choice, a conscious decision to withhold the urge to rush ahead and instead let things come to you in their own time. When you understand the value of restraint, you begin to see that true strength lies not in making constant noise, but in having the confidence to let the world come to you, to allow things to evolve naturally, to trust that time will reveal your value in ways that constant action cannot. Consider for a moment the natural world. The most powerful forces in nature are often the ones that don't need to prove their strength. A mountain does not rush to rise, it takes millions of years to reach its full height. The river doesn't fight against the land, but carves its path slowly and steadily with a quiet force that cannot be denied. Even the seasons don't hurry, yet their arrival and departure are certain, inevitable. The same is true of individuals who understand that strength is not measured by how much they do, but by how deeply they trust the process. Those who cultivate this quiet power know that when the time is right, their efforts will bear fruit. They do not need to push relentlessly, for they trust in the timing of the world around them. This kind of power also allows for a deeper understanding of the self. It is easy to get caught up in the demands and expectations of others, to be swept away by the pressure to conform to the world's standards of success. In the rush to prove ourselves, we often lose touch with who we truly are and what we truly want. Our actions become guided by external forces, by what others expect of us, or by the fear of being left behind. But by stepping back, by taking a pause, we give ourselves the space to reconnect with our inner selves, to listen to our true desires, and to understand what really matters. In this space of stillness, we rediscover our purpose, and it becomes easier to align our actions with our authentic selves, rather than with the demands of others. Moreover, stepping back and doing less also allows us to gain perspective. When we are constantly moving forward, we are often too close to the situation to see things clearly. We may become mired in the small details, missing the bigger picture. But when we take a step back and allow ourselves time to reflect, we can see the situation from a new angle, and often the answer becomes clear. In many cases, the solution to a problem is not to push harder or to do more, but to stop and allow the situation to reveal itself. Our most creative and insightful ideas often come not when we are grinding away at something, but when we are allowing our minds the freedom to wander, to reflect, and to rest. In fact, there is something almost paradoxical about this process. The more we push ourselves to act, the more we risk becoming trapped in our own efforts. The harder we try to control a situation, the more we may inadvertently create resistance. There is a subtle art in knowing when to step back and allow things to unfold. It is in this space that real power emerges. The person who understands this principle is like the calm center of a storm, unshaken by the chaos around them. They don't need to shout to be heard. Their presence alone is enough to command attention when the time is right. This understanding of power also applies to how we relate to others. Often, in our relationships and interactions, we feel the need to assert ourselves, to prove our worth, to make sure that others see us for who we are. But true influence and respect come not from constant assertion, but from quiet consistency. When you choose not to chase after validation, when you refrain from trying to convince others of your value, you allow them the space to see it for themselves. Over time, this restraint becomes the foundation of a deep respect. People may not always understand it in the moment, but eventually they will recognize the strength in your silence, in your ability to remain centered and grounded without needing to prove anything. This is the kind of power that leaves a lasting impact, one that doesn't come from force or pressure, but from a calm and unwavering presence. Furthermore, the act of stepping back is not just about holding back from others, it's also about holding back from the incessant demands we place on ourselves. In the rush to be productive, to achieve, to succeed, we can become our own harshest critics. We constantly measure ourselves against standards that are often arbitrary or unrealistic, and we punish ourselves for not doing more. But when we give ourselves permission to do less, we release ourselves from the tyranny of constant self-judgment. We allow ourselves to be human, to have moments of rest, to simply exist without the pressure of always doing. In doing so, we begin to realize that our worth is not measured by how much we do or how much we achieve. It is measured by who we are, by the way we carry ourselves, by the integrity with which we approach the world. When we stop striving for external validation and start living in alignment with our true selves, we unlock a deeper sense of fulfillment. This is the real power, the power to be content with who we are, to trust that our value will be recognized, not through our constant action, but through the steady, silent confidence we maintain in the face of everything that demands our attention. Stepping back and embracing silence grants us the invaluable gift of perspective. In the fast-moving world we live in, it's easy to become consumed by the demands of others and the constant rush to accomplish more, to achieve more, to be seen more. We often lose sight of the bigger picture, focusing instead on the small, immediate tasks at hand. But by taking a step back, we give ourselves the space to breathe, reflect, and reconnect with what truly matters. This act of pausing allows us to see beyond the noise and the clutter of daily life and gain a clearer, more comprehensive understanding of our circumstances, our goals, and our relationships. When we step back, we remove ourselves from the chaotic rush of action and gain the freedom to observe from a distance. This observation is not passive. It is an active process of looking at our lives, our struggles, and our challenges from a place of detachment. By stepping away from the situation, we no longer react impulsively or emotionally, but instead allow ourselves to respond with clarity. In moments of overwhelm, when we feel trapped in a whirlwind of tasks, responsibilities, or emotions, stepping back provides the space for our minds to calm down, to recenter, and to rediscover the focus that is often lost in the heat of the moment. This pause is not only about slowing down the pace, but also about reevaluating what truly deserves our attention. When we are caught up in the frenzied pace of constant action, we often find ourselves expending energy on things that do not contribute to our long-term well-being or goals. We may feel compelled to take on tasks that do not align with our values or desires, simply because they appear urgent or important in the moment. However, by stepping back, we allow ourselves the time and space to discern what truly matters, what aligns with our deepest goals, and what will ultimately lead us to greater fulfillment. This ability to step away from the urgency of the moment and consider the bigger picture allows us to make decisions that are more intentional and aligned with our true purpose. In relationships, too, stepping back can create space for understanding and growth. We often feel the need to assert ourselves, to fight for our point of view, or to ensure that our voices are heard. In the process, we may overlook the needs or perspectives of others. By stepping back and allowing others to share their thoughts and feelings without interruption, we open up the possibility for more genuine connection and empathy. This pause helps to create an environment where mutual respect and understanding can flourish, allowing relationships to evolve in a healthier, more balanced direction. In a world where everyone is eager to be heard, those who are willing to listen, to step back and allow others the space to speak, often find that their own voice is heard in more meaningful ways. Ultimately, taking the time to step back offers a deep and necessary opportunity for reflection. It is easy to get caught up in the rush of daily life, to be swept away by the urgency of tasks, deadlines, and demands. But when we take a moment to pause, to step away from the whirlwind, we give ourselves the gift of reflection. In this space, we can examine our actions, our choices, and our relationships with a fresh perspective, free from the pressures of constant motion. This reflection allows us to course correct, to realign ourselves with our goals, and to ensure that we are moving forward in a way that is intentional and true to our values. By stepping back and staying silent, we create room for clarity, for understanding, and for the wisdom that comes with time and distance. We realize that we don't always need to be in the thick of things, fighting for attention or approval. Sometimes the greatest strength comes from the ability to simply be still, to observe, and to trust that, in time, the answers will come to us. The world we live in is filled with noise, constant noise. The hum of traffic, the click of keyboards, the murmur of conversations, the ticking of clocks, the buzzing of phones, all of it seems to demand our attention, each moment filled with some new urgency, some new thing that must be done. We are encouraged, even pressured, to make our presence known, to speak up, to be visible. The idea that one can stand out by being loud, by constantly showing up, by always making a scene has become ingrained in our culture. But in truth, it is often the loudest voices that are the easiest to ignore. The most insistent demands are frequently the ones that people grow weary of. The noise becomes tiresome, the chaos becomes overwhelming, and amidst it all, the true value often gets lost. In the midst of this constant noise, silence can be the most powerful tool at our disposal. The loudest voices are often the ones that are heard only momentarily, their impact fleeting. But those who choose to be quiet, those who choose to hold back from the fray, often leave a far more lasting impression. There is an undeniable power in silence, in stillness. When you choose to step away from the noise, to retreat from the clamoring voices that demand your attention, you are not retreating from life or from your responsibilities. Instead, you are allowing yourself the space to breathe, to gather your thoughts, and to build something more lasting and meaningful. Silence does not mean inaction. It means that you choose to act from a place of clarity, of purpose, and of understanding. When you silence the noise, you give yourself the ability to hear what truly matters. In a world where everyone is shouting, it is easy to get swept up in the noise, to lose sight of your own voice in the chorus of others. But by stepping back and embracing silence, you allow yourself to hear your own thoughts, to reconnect with your inner wisdom. You also give others the space to do the same. When you stop filling the air with your own voice, you create an environment where the voices of others can be heard more clearly. In conversations, in meetings, and in relationships, those who speak less and listen more often find that others begin to trust them more, respect them more, and ultimately value their opinions more. The act of remaining silent, of refraining from speaking just for the sake of speaking, creates an aura of mystery and power that demands respect. This power in silence comes from the understanding that silence is not simply the absence of noise. It is the absence of urgency, the absence of forced action. Silence is not merely about refraining from words, it is about creating space for something deeper, something more meaningful to emerge. In silence, you give yourself time to think, to reflect, and to make decisions that are rooted in something far more profound than the noise of the moment. The loudest voices often react without thinking, without considering the broader consequences of their words and actions. But those who embrace silence are able to pause, to reflect, and to act with intention. In our world, there is also an inherent value in allowing others to take the lead, to fill the space with their own words, their own actions. Too often we are conditioned to believe that we must be in control, that we must be the ones speaking, the ones acting, the ones making decisions. But in truth, the most effective leaders are often those who remain in the background, those who allow others to take center stage. The true leader is not the one who always demands attention, but the one who has the humility and wisdom to step back and allow others to shine. By staying silent, by stepping back and allowing others to take the lead, you empower them to act with confidence, to grow into their roles, and to become the leaders they are meant to be. Silence also offers a unique kind of strength. When you remain silent, you are not surrendering, you are not withdrawing in defeat. You are choosing not to engage in battles that do not serve you. In a world where everyone is constantly competing for attention, those who refuse to chase after it stand out in their own way. The more others see that you do not engage in the same endless pursuit of approval, the more they come to respect your boundaries, your confidence, and your ability to stand firm without needing to prove yourself. By refusing to chase after the noise, you create an aura of mystery, of authority, and of calm that others inevitably find compelling. This is not to say that silence is always easy. In fact, it requires a great deal of strength. It requires the ability to resist the temptation to speak out of turn, to resist the pressure to constantly explain yourself or defend your actions. Silence means having the courage to trust that, in time, your actions will speak louder than any words could. It means recognizing that your value is not dependent on the constant validation of others, but rather on your ability to remain grounded in your own truth. In this way, silence becomes a kind of rebellion, a quiet rebellion against a world that values noise over substance, appearance over truth, and action over reflection. There is also a profound peace that comes from choosing silence. In a world where everything seems to be moving faster and faster, where the pressure to do more, be more, and have more is unrelenting, silence becomes a refuge. When you step away from the demands and distractions of the world, when you allow yourself the time to sit in silence, you begin to reconnect with a sense of peace and tranquility that is often lost in the rush of life. This peace comes not from inaction, but from the understanding that in silence there is room for deep reflection, for creativity, for growth, and for renewal. It is in silence that you find the space to listen to your own heart, to your own dreams, and to your own desires. It is in this quiet space that you are able to recharge, to center yourself, and to prepare for the next steps on your journey. The power of silence lies in its ability to cut through the noise, to offer clarity and insight, and to create space for others to be heard. Those who embrace silence are not passive, they are active in their choice to remain centered, to listen more than they speak, and to let their actions speak louder than words. In a world that is often filled with the clamor of voices, it is the quiet ones who often leave the most lasting impact. In the fast-paced, competitive world we live in, many of us feel a constant pressure to assert ourselves, to push forward, and to prove our worth. We often find ourselves chasing after validation from others, whether it's through achievements, recognition, or the approval of those around us. But true influence and respect are not always born from forceful action or constant assertion. Rather, they often arise from quiet consistency, the kind of steadfastness that comes not from shouting, but from simply showing up and being true to oneself over time. When you choose not to chase attention, you free yourself from the exhausting cycle of seeking approval and recognition from others. You begin to understand that your value is not defined by the applause of the crowd or the accolades bestowed upon you. Instead, your worth is inherent, grounded in who you are and what you stand for. By stepping away from the chase for constant validation, you create the space to build a life that is aligned with your true purpose, rather than one dictated by the expectations of others. The act of not chasing attention allows you to live authentically, free from the need to constantly measure yourself against the standards set by society or by the people around you. When you stop seeking validation, you also stop seeking permission to be who you truly are. The constant pursuit of attention and approval often leads to self-doubt, as we begin to question whether we are enough, whether we are doing things the right way, or whether we are living up to someone else's idea of success. But when you choose to step back from this pursuit, you give yourself the permission to simply be. You trust that, in time, the right people will recognize your worth, and the right opportunities will come your way. This quiet confidence, this refusal to chase after fleeting recognition, is a form of inner strength. It is a declaration that your value is not something to be earned from others, but something you already possess. Choosing not to chase attention also shifts the focus from external validation to internal growth. When you are no longer focused on how others perceive you, you can devote your energy to improving yourself, developing your skills, and deepening your understanding of the world around you. You no longer measure your success by how others see you, but by how you see yourself and how you continue to evolve. This internal growth leads to a deeper sense of fulfillment, as it is rooted in your own efforts and achievements, rather than in the opinions of others. Moreover, when you stop chasing attention, you open the door to more genuine relationships. In a world where many people are preoccupied with self-promotion, it's easy to become surrounded by shallow connections based on what people can gain from one another. But when you step back from this chase, you create the space for real, authentic relationships to flourish. You no longer need to prove yourself to others, and because of this, you can connect with people who value you for who you truly are, not for what you can offer them or how you can elevate their own status. The people who truly value you will recognize your worth without the need for you to constantly seek their approval. These are the people who will see you for your character, your integrity, and the consistency with which you live your life. The more you stop chasing after attention, the more you will attract those who appreciate you for the qualities that truly matter. The relationships you build from this place are far more meaningful, as they are based on a foundation of mutual respect, understanding, and authenticity, rather than on superficial displays of success or accomplishment.